Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Marvellous. Well, welcome to Eastwood School. As you probably know, my name is Mr. Stanley, Deputy Head here, and it's a real pleasure to host such what I know is going to be a fantastic event. We've got lots and lots to get through this morning, but it's going to be a brilliant time for all.
Hello, my name's David Stanley. I'm the chairman of Question Time. It's an event in which the students from Southend primary schools have an opportunity to ask questions to 16 members of a panel, which is made up from local dignitaries, councillors, police representatives and so on, and a chance for the children to ask really quite, I hope, challenging questions and to get some answers, because of course these children are going to be the local representatives of the future, and they now have a chance to express their views about what they want in their future.
Have a look, because I think they're a bit tricky. Read the words, because we need to actually see what they are. See if you can work them out. So those two together.
Student voice is something that's been a real big thing in education in the last few years, and of course community and community cohesion. So I think an event like this brings all that together, because the students have a voice and they are engaging with members of their community. They're coming together as schools. They're not just separate schools doing their own debates in their own schools. They've been working very hard in preparing for the debate, but now they're coming together to have their student voice, which I think is a very powerful one when they do work together.
Claire and Katie and I, our contract as Extended Schools Coordinators comes to an end on the 31st of March, so this is the last project that we will be working on together as Extended Schools Coordinators. But also to say that this is the first time we have ever put anything like this on. So we really don't know what's going to happen, just to warn you. Now this is David Stanley. He's kindly agreed to be our compere for the day and has really helped us. And he's the Deputy Head at Eastwood School. And now he's in here, Claire and Katie and I wanted to thank him and the Eastwood School very much for their hospitality and for supporting us with this project. Just to let you all know, there are 15 primary schools represented today, and we've got between 8 and 10 children from each primary school. And each school in turn is going to ask what is one of their burning issues, something that they're particularly bothered about, either in their school community or where they live. And what we've been doing with them is Katie, Claire and I have gone out to the schools beforehand and done workshops with them so that to get them to think about what they wanted to ask you about today. So there's been a lot of preparation gone on behind the scenes. They've really carefully thought out what they're going to ask you today. And we were quite amazed actually by the feedback we got from them. What we're going to do is we're going to have some questions first, and then there'll be a short presentation in the middle, which is actually a compilation of all the children's what they consider to be the top spots in Southend and the grot spots. So, but just to let you know, that's their work and not ours.
I really hope that the members of the panel, the sort of local councillors, the representatives from the community there, I do hope they take this very seriously, because I think probably they're expecting a few nice questions from children and a nice morning out for them. But I really hope that the children, and I say we, I feel as if I'm on behalf of the students here, give them a real grilling. And indeed, if the answers are good and the panellists do give a satisfactory answer to the children, then all of the children can hold up a card which says yes and a smiley face. However, if they've just been given a lot of waffle and excuses, then they will be holding up a card which says no.
question addressed to Mr. Anderson. There is too much litter in places such as Maple Avenue, Leigh-on-Sea and Manchester Drive Brook, as far as Sunshine Playgroup. What do you propose to do about it?
We have crews patrolling Southend, right through from Chalk all the way down to Shoebury and the Lee area. And these crew pay regular visits to all the streets in Southend over a period of time. And we do try to head off any troubled areas, like you said, like Maple Avenue. We're aware of that particular road being quite littery because it's just off the Lee Broadway. So all the litter from the Lee Broadway blows down there, and we do pay regular visits to all the streets to ensure that they are cleansed to a satisfactory condition.
At Shoebury Ness, the pavements are really uneven, and I really want the council to sort something out. Because when me and my family are going out, my brother, his wheelchair keeps getting stuck in the little potholes. I really want to do something for him. He's really important to me, and I just need the council to do something for me. Thank you.
We are doing a lot of work around the town, repairing potholes in the carriageway and on pavements. We've been repairing potholes on average 1 every 3 minutes across the borough over the last year. I do appreciate there are still problems, and the council's putting extra money in this year to help us improve the quality of the roads and pavements in the town. There's also a separate issue, which is some of the pavements and the verges are damaged where cars are driven over them, and pavements aren't designed to have cars parked on them, and it breaks the paving slabs or damages the tarmac. And again, the council's going to be taking action over the next year to try and prevent cars from doing that.
Obviously the people who drive the cars and park them on the grass verges and the pavements are adults. But I think if children realise what's happening and the damage it's doing, obviously one of your colleagues here has a problem with it. If you say to your parents, if you see them driving onto the pavement, perhaps you could suggest that they don't, and explain that it is breaking up the pavements, and that people with wheelchairs and other people, old people particularly, do have trouble when the pavements get broken up, and it costs an awful lot to repair. So perhaps, being very polite, ask your parents not to park on the verges or the pavements.
The other issue, of course, is to make sure that when you see these problems, they are actually reported to the council, because yes, sometimes the council might be too slow in repairing these problems, but if the problems aren't reported to the council in the first place, they can't start to take action. So the council details, you can easily find them on the website and whatever. Make sure when you see these problems, you report them, and then if you don't get an answer, chase them up, complain to your councillors and nag people until something gets done.
We like to spend time at Eastwood Park, which is quite near to our school.
However, there is often a lot of litter and dog mess in the park, which doesn't look very nice and makes it dangerous and dirty for us to play there.
We think there should be more bins for both litter and dog mess in the park.
And we would like to ask the panel what they intend to do about this issue.
Can I just ask you to put your hands up? How many of you have got dogs in the family? Quite a lot of you. I take it, though, you're all the good ones that pick up all the mess. So thanks a lot. Gainsborough Park, I actually went round there yesterday morning and checked up, and they were quite right. There is dog mess there, and it shouldn't be there. There is one very old dog mess waste container, which we asked for replacement a few months ago but hasn't been done, but I once again chased up yesterday and also asked them to put one at the top of the field. It seems to be the top corner, the bottom corner. One's got a bin, one hasn't. So I will be chasing that up to make certain something like that is done. On the equipment side, I went round the playground and I could find only one damaged piece of equipment, which I have asked them to replace, and that was a seat on the swing. But the disappointing answer is when I asked, well, who's responsible for clearing the mess up, the answer I got from our parks department, from the top people, was that nobody. All we do is wait for the grass to be cut and it's churned up and ploughed back in on that, which wasn't very good. However, what I did find, Southend published a little pamphlet entitled A Guide to Responsible Dog Ownership. And what I've done, I've left a pile over on the corner, and I would ask that the teachers take a supply so that you can pass them out to your parents and anybody you see that's doing the dog fouling. The only last point, on the running track, until we get some money coming in, I don't think you've got a chance of that. I'm sorry, but that's the answer.
Okay, thank you. On the general points about parks, we can go on to Eastwood Park if you like with Paul Jenkinson or Dave Anthony.
Gainsborough Park is one we actually refurbished in 2009. Obviously, we have to spread the funding across the town, so we can't replace every item of equipment in every playground, but Gainsborough has had refurbishment work and money spent on it. With regards to the playground being dirty and damaged and unusable, as my colleague said, he visited yesterday and it is in quite good condition. Playgrounds only get damaged when people misuse them, they don't damage themselves. So it's the people who go out into the parks, who are using the parks, who cause that damage. So I'm not saying it's you, but it tends to be young people who do that, or the swing seat that's damaged tends to be irresponsible dog owners. It's the dog owners that for some reason think it's important to get their dogs to chew on the seats. We will replace items as they get damaged, but we have to wait until they're at a certain point. So you may see nibbled seats in playgrounds. They won't always be 100% perfect, but they're always safe. That's the important thing. We check our playgrounds regularly to make sure they're safe.
Lots of children like playing on the cliff in Lee, but can only cross safely at the bottom of Thames Drive or outside the post office. Would you consider a crossing along Marine Parade?
Pedestrian crossings. They're very, very expensive. However, safety does come first. We do have a partnership with KeyMed that help to provide pedestrian crossings. It would not come quickly because the law comes into altering roads, but we need to ask, and I'm going to invite our Chief Officer, Andrew Medal, to give you an update on where we are with that at the moment. Thank you for the question.
Yes, we are looking at this. We've been carrying out speed monitoring along the length of Marine Parade. You'll know there are already flashing signs there warning drivers about exceeding the speed limit. But it is a long stretch of road from the junction with Thames Drive to Belton Way East. What we're looking at is what will be the most appropriate form of crossing along there, whether it will take the form of pedestrian refuges in the middle of the road, or whether there'll actually be a zebra or some form of traffic light controlled crossing there. But the work will be in conjunction. We're looking at whether we can make the junction of Belton Way East, Hadley Road and Rectory Grove and Marine Parade safer as well. So we're looking at all of that as a package, and that is being examined with our colleagues at KeyMed.
We are worried that some of St Lawrence's Park will be lost when the new runway is built at Southend Airport, and that we will lose our football pitch and some of our play area. Can the panel explain why this is happening when the park is the only green space in our area where it is safe to play and there are no busy roads for us to cross?
We were a little worried about the play area because we thought that you were going to be losing some space, but we're quite happy with what Joe's told us, that you will be definitely getting more play area, and you'll also be getting the wild park and all the new equipment. So all I would say to Prince Avenue pupils is don't tell everybody because they'll all want to use it. Thank you.
Our school is next to Chalkwell Park. Some of our older children are allowed to play there without an adult after school. They sometimes feel anxious and threatened by teenagers who seem to take over the play area. How can we stop this problem?
If you're out either in the parks or sort of in areas where you're feeling unsafe,
it's really important that you let us know. There's not only Park Watch, but there's other teams out on the streets who can only sort of go to places where we know that there's issues and problems happening. So really would encourage all of you, if you are feeling worried about anything, to do that through the neighbourhood action panels in particular, because we can make sure that we can actually target our services. Now, some sort of news that's happening for us in Connections is that we're becoming, and have been redesigned recently, are becoming part of a much larger team of sort of an integrated youth support service, whereby we will be able to be far bigger and able to sort of react better to exactly these kind of needs. In the past, we have worked on a sort of mobile unit in Eastwood Park and actually managed to work with some of these young people and perhaps try and redirect them in a very positive way in terms of where they can actually go to have their own sort of excitement and experience and not sort of do antisocial things in the parks. We were able to open 2 youth centres in both St Stephen's and St Lawrence's to actually answer exactly these kind of concerns that you have. At Eastwood we have a junior section and a senior section running on a Wednesday night. And we actually have more young people coming there than sometimes we see in our youth centres, which tells volumes about where we're situated and where we want to be. What I would also say is, sort of work with us. We want to make sure that we're actually able to sort of provide services for you and for some of the older young people in Southend. We are moving to a more targeted service. We know there are young people out there with lots of issues and challenges that we need to work with and perhaps haven't even met yet. So we really want to work in a much more targeted way, get our teams out in the streets, in the local communities to actually provide exactly what's wanted.
I do believe that part of the problem, it's not a new problem. There have always been teenagers congregating in parks. Believe it or not, I was a teenager. I used to congregate in a park with a group, or gang as they're often called these days. It's how those gangs or those groups behave that determine whether they're threatening or not. And that is down to the individual's choice as to whether they want to respect other people or not, whether they want to dominate and injure others or not. I do think the churches have a role to play here. I think many of the churches have very successful youth work and have the opportunity to actually engage with some of these youngsters. I do think that in my field of expertise, we can have laws and bylaws and signs till the cows come home, but actually, unless the behaviour of the individual changes, then I noticed on the song it said that all in this together. Unless there is a change of attitude within each individual, then people will maintain selfish behaviour which threatens others.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of break it down, if I may, just to give you an overview of what we're doing, and if nothing else, provide you with some reassurance. I think the point here, it seems overly apparent that if youths are congregating out of the parks, people have an issue with them. If youths are congregating in the parks, on occasion there's a slight issue as well. So again, it's finding that acceptable behaviour. For me, and certainly if I can break it down into Eastwood Park first, just going on from the earlier comments that were made, to reassure you, every time somebody reports an incident of antisocial behaviour, there's a telephone call that comes through to the police control and there's a log of that call. We collate absolutely every one of those, so if there's a particular problem with a repeat caller, then they'd be given a higher priority grading. With Eastwood Park in particular, we have been made aware of an increase in antisocial behaviour. As a result of that, my team over at Eastwood, who are quite dynamic in my opinion, have been instrumental in securing additional funding from the crime and disorder agencies and partnerships. There's an additional policing presence that's been certainly in place for the last 2 weeks over there, and a noticeable decrease in reported antisocial behaviour. Going on to, that's a continuing operation that we have. If you look at Chalkwell Park in particular, seasonally we have had problems over there, and again the concerning comments that were made, in particular the 2 words you used, that we feel threatened and anxious. I wouldn't want anybody feeling threatened or anxious at all. Again, it comes down to making sure that if you are subject to intimidation or you are concerned and you don't feel that there's a chance for you to use the equipment because other groups are using them, then again we need to know about that. There's mention of drinking, there's mention of people swearing those are offences. Again, I'd ask you to report that, and again, where officers are available, I will certainly dispatch them to that to take appropriate action. Now, there are many different means of dealing with antisocial behaviour. I've previously been involved with antisocial behaviour orders, which are behaviour orders that are placed on individuals. There are curfews and parenting orders and various other means of dealing with things.